My GF gave a guy her Instagram after he hit on her while walking her dogs. My girlfriend, of 1 year living together, is extremely social, as am I, and I love that about her. However, yesterday she texted me that a man was chatting her up while she was walking her dogs. Strangers frequently do this because she's friendly, and her dogs are cute. She said he eventually asked for her number and she realized he was hitting on her, so she said she had a boyfriend, and declined, making the man sad and awkward. I said the man has good taste and joked about it. Today during a phone call, I'm away on a work trip, she said she didn't give her number but told him she had single friends, and they exchanged Instagrams so that she could help set up her single friends. She said we should hang out with him this weekend and some of her single friends to see if they hit it off. I laughed it off, but it gave me a weird feeling. What would she think if I did that? Later, I was walking to a work function and decided to text her something sexy about how excited I was for it to get warm, so I could see her in a sundress. She asked if I was looking at a woman in a dress nearby and questioned why I would say that. I told her there was no one, and that her response was weirdly suspicious when I'm just trying to tell her I daydream about her body. She called me a sneaky link, and again asked why I was thinking about skimpy stuff. So I told her I'm not the one giving my Instagram to random people, not to mention how she told me the night before men were buying desserts for her and her girlfriend while they were out to dinner. Coincidentally, every time they go out, some random men chat them up and buy them food and drinks. Every time. I said she's the sneaky link. At this point, we were starting to fight over text, and she said she's just living her life and can't control what other people do. But I countered by saying giving someone hitting on you your Instagram isn't just living her life. Context. When we started dating, she was extremely suspicious of various platonic female friends and female coworkers, either being rude in person to them or making jokes that I was trying to get with them, or just glaring at women that I know casually who would come up to me and say hi. I decided that she's my priority, and if a casual friend makes her uncomfortable, I'll cut that friend out. So I stopped talking to all my female friends proactively to ensure there were no issues. If I gave a woman my Instagram, I think she would be upset, based on how she reacted to casual platonic female friends in the past. I wouldn't break up with her over this obviously, but her actions seem hypocritical compared to how she reacted to my platonic female friendships. Even without the additional context, I feel a little sketched out that she's giving out her Instagram and asking me and her to meet up with this man and her girlfriends. I'm very secure, but this kind of feels like some immature stuff that I don't care for, and I'm not sure I want a relationship where this would happen more than once. I just feel like I'm really good to her, even give her a free place to live. She says I'm her soulmate and she'd do anything for me. Everything else seems so perfect and close. It's clear that she is projecting her own unfaithfulness onto you, making excuses for her unacceptable behavior. She may claim to do anything for you, but continuing to flirt with other men and dismiss your concerns shows a lack of respect. Giving her Instagram to a random guy and making plans to hang out is a red flag, and you deserve better than someone who is unwilling to prioritize your feelings in the relationship. Ultimately, you have to decide what is best for you in this situation, but remember that you deserve honesty and respect in a partnership. Am I the antagonist for not paying for the things that my toddler destroyed? Sorry in advance for the mistakes I'll make, as English is my second language. I, 36 years old, have a 2.5-year-old son. He is energetic and curious, like every child's supposed to be. Meltdowns are age-appropriate, but he usually doesn't do that unless he misses sleep, gets sick or something like that. I make sure to let him release his energy in playgrounds, etc. every day, so he wouldn't climb furnitures. Laugh out loud. Our parenting style is similar to that British show called Super Nanny. By that I mean, for example, if you don't eat your vegetables, you won't get any desserts. No matter how much you cry won't change that. Or 19:30 is the sleep time after our nighttime routine. Unless there is an extreme case, 99% of time he will be in his bed, trying not to be in bed to have more fun. We do a little dance where he comes back to me and I put him in his bed again and again. Rules are the rules. My mother-in-law, 58 years old, lives far away from us and invited us to her home so she can see her grandson face to face instead of everyday FaceTiming. Her home is filled with knickknacks, etc. It is not ideal to have my toddler live in there for a week, but with our parenting style, if we say no, it means no, so we thought it would be manageable with my 24/7 supervision. What we didn't calculate was my mother-in-law's character. She is not a recovering people pleaser, she is a proud people pleaser. She thinks she is like Mother Teresa, but it is actually one of my husband's traumas that he had to act extra aggressive to people to protect his mother from the people using her. She started giving my son chocolate cake behind my back because he refused eating his proper meal, and I was like, he will eat when he is hungry. Apparently, she couldn't imagine a toddler being left hungry by his mother. And since he is refusing the meal, he has to eat something, right? Whenever my son has meltdowns for the things that I wouldn't let him do, she saves him from his despot mom and does the thing with him, because she couldn't bear watching him cry like it is the end of the world. Thanks to her week-long actions, now my son thinks my mother-in-law overrides my rules. If he cries enough, he can get what he wants. So now, he doesn't stop crying for a long time, since eventually his angel of a grandma will save him. Today I woke up with flu, and my mother-in-law volunteered to babysit him. After a few hours, she came to my room asking for me to pay for her kitchen cabinets. Apparently, he was banging a ladle on the cabinet doors and made a lot of dents on the paint. I was like, where were you when it happened? She was right there. She wouldn't leave him alone, of course. Why didn't you take the ladle from his hands? Well, he didn't let her. After the meaningless back and forth with similar questions, and I already had a headache from my sinus, I just went back to sleep saying no, I won't pay. And it seems like you need to discipline your grandson and be the bad guy for the first time. Now she is crying in her room, so am I the antagonist? Not the antagonist. Your son didn't let his grandma take the ladle back? Assuming your mother-in-law has perfectly functional hands, she should have easily been able to take a ladle from a toddler. Normally I would say that parents are responsible for anything their child breaks, but it sounds like grandma didn't want to discipline your son under any circumstances but has no reservations about making it your problem. Sadly, it sounds like these kinds of problems will persist unless you set hard ground rules with your mother-in-law. It'll take a while to get your son to stop associating his grandma with laxity in the rules, and he'll keep pitting the two of you against each other. She was the one in charge of the kid and she allowed him to damage her cabinets. My girlfriend broke my trust and broke me. I'm 35 years old and my partner is 30. We moved in together 2 years ago, pooling our incomes. We considered marriage but wanted to learn more about each other in our daily lives first. After a year, my partner disclosed a $32,000 debt, explaining a family emergency led to their mother pawning heirlooms. They took out a loan to help their mother but struggled financially. They didn't share this sooner, fearing I wouldn't combine finances had I known. They hadn't made payments while we lived together, accruing significant debt and interest. I was hurt but thanked them for trusting me and pledged to work together. I took out a loan to pay off their debt and establish manageable payments. We continued to live together, focusing on reducing the debt. Later, we moved to a bigger home, planning for a more comfortable life. My partner mentioned a payment mistake, which I dismissed. They announced a pregnancy, but I discovered they had a gambling addiction. They used my emergency credit card, maxing it out and accumulating roughly $100,000 in debt. Concerned about our financial situation and their addiction, we decided to end the pregnancy. The following months were challenging, filled with trust issues and debt strain. I sought solace in my faith and my partner vowed to quit gambling. However, they relapsed, accumulating more debt. They enrolled in Gamblers Anonymous, but I'm unsure if I can trust them again. They've excluded themselves from gambling sites, begun GIA meetings, and now face a choice about control over their finances. Her family mentioned she had a history of addiction, asking if an intervention was necessary. I'm struggling with trust, contemplating moving out, but still love and care for them. I await their return from GA, unsure of our relationship's future. We've been together for 4 years and my certainty in our future has wavered. I feel alone and conflicted. Any advice on how to proceed? It sounds like you were in a very tough situation and trying to figure out what is best for you and your partner. It is really difficult to be in a relationship with someone who has a lifelong addiction, especially when it comes to finances and planning for the future. It's important to prioritize your own well-being and happiness. You deserve to be treated with respect and have a partner who values the same things you do. Take care of yourself and make the decision that is best for your own future. I caught my husband going through my purse. This started one evening last week. My husband and I were enjoying a quiet night in after work. I was exhausted, so he suggested I take a hot shower to unwind. For context, we have an ensuite in our bedroom, and I used that bathroom to take my shower. When I exited the shower, my husband was sat on my side of the bed, and to my surprise, he was going through my purse. Laid out in front of him were some of the contents, a few receipts, my cards, and my money. I was so shocked I just stood there in silence for a second. He clearly hadn't immediately noticed me, and when he caught a glimpse of me, he almost jumped out of his skin. I asked him what he was doing with my purse, and he started laughing and said he just wanted to see what I get up to. That comment really confused me, and when I asked what that meant, he just laughed and said it didn't matter. He put everything back and handed me my purse before getting up and leaving the room. I was pretty much stunned by what had happened, as well as my husband's weird reaction. I tried talking to him about it a few more times that evening, but each time he brushed it off and said he wondered what kind of stuff I kept in my purse. I explained that it had made me uncomfortable that he went through it. That seemed to offend him, and he said that as a married couple, we should share things and not conceal stuff. He hasn't acted like this before, so the whole thing really disconcerted me. We went to bed and I still didn't have any answers. Next day I called my parents and told them what had happened. They were immediately concerned and their response only solidified my own worries about the situation. On their advice, I attempted a sit-down discussion with my husband, but he told me he thought I was overreacting, and I got no further clarity on what his intentions had been. I confided in my friend over this as well, and she theorized whether my husband had suspected me of infidelity or had wanted to steal the money in my purse. Both options upset me to consider, but I know they're both possibilities. As of right now, I haven't caught him with my purse again, and I make efforts to keep it with me as much as I can. I would like some advice on how I can navigate this situation. It's really confusing to me. even more so that he refuses to enlighten me anymore on what his intentions were. It for sure gives me cause for concern, but how am I meant to address it when I have tried multiple times, and he still hasn't listened to me? He needs to understand the two of you aren't okay and will not be moving forward until this is resolved. I think your husband is having some doubts about your relationship, and instead of discussing with you, he went digging for info. If he balks at that, then he definitely has something to hide. A lot of times cheaters do a thing called projecting, where they accuse their partner of cheating because they themselves are cheating and feel guilty. My girlfriend's entitled, "Mom freaks out over name change." My girlfriend has a very rocky relationship with her mother. This is due to a variety of reasons, but one of the major ones is that her mother cursed her with a horribly misspelled name, something like Hazel Marie with her mother's last name. It's not those exact names, but the same type of vibe. Two classic beautiful names ruined by her mother's pathological desire to be unique. Her parents weren't together at the time of her birth, and she ended up with her mother's last name. This has caused so many problems throughout her life since her father ended up being her primary parent, and she's told me that she's wanted to have it changed since she started going to school and having to deal with the problems. The only reason she waited until she was an adult is because her mother wouldn't consent to the name change. Anyway, the paperwork recently went through, and my girlfriend is now Hazel Marie with her father's last name. She's over the moon about it, and I'm so happy for her. The only hiccup has been her mother. We expected her to be upset that her baby girl is deviating from her mother's wishes, but we didn't expect she would be so upset that she exploded like she did. My girlfriend told her mother the news, and she absolutely blew up. She actually stormed over to our apartment, she lives in the same building as us, it sucks, and banged on our door until my girlfriend reluctantly answered. I advised her not to, but she did it anyway because, and I quote, "It's my mother, let me talk to her." Oh well. My girlfriend's mother barged her way into the apartment and began loudly berating my girlfriend for changing her name. She basically said that my girlfriend threw away the beautiful gift I gave you and said, "You're my daughter, I have the right to name you." She wasn't even really upset about her taking her dad's last name, but she was really upset about her changing the spellings of her first and middle name to the normal spellings. My girlfriend tried to explain about all the problems her name had caused her over the years, but her mother wouldn't let her speak and just kept yelling over her. Eventually I, much taller and stronger than my girlfriend's mother, forcibly kicked her out while calling her a mean and telling her never to come back. My girlfriend and I are now looking at breaking our lease to get away from her. Message from my girlfriend that she wanted me to add, "Please don't give your kids horrible names. No one thinks it's quirky or cute. You look like an idiot and little Michaela probably resents you for it. Do everyone a favor and just spell your kids' names like they're supposed to be. Take it from someone with a terrible name, it sucks to deal with. You're naming a human person, not a doll or puppy." Congratulations to your girlfriend on getting the name she wanted. It's unfortunate her mother is causing trouble, but I hope she leaves you two alone so you don't have to break your lease. This situation is truly tragic. Parents who pull this kind of nonsense with names usually just come off as pretentious, rather than smart. Would I be the antagonist for refusing to repair the relationship with my father-in-law? Last year I, 43 years old, was pregnant with our first child, and my father-in-law, 75 years old, came to stay with us. He has a long history of visiting my partner, 45 years old, for extended periods, about 6 weeks. My partner and I had only been together for 2 years at this point, so I was not used to having his dad in the house for such a long period of time. To be honest, I find his dad pretty hard to deal with for a weekend, let alone a month. So a month into his stay, I was really struggling. I was about 24 weeks pregnant at this stage, hormones raging and feeling very isolated from my partner, because we had spent less than an hour alone together for a month. I had tried several times to discuss this with my partner, but he was finding it very difficult to negotiate the changes I was asking for with his dad. After I found myself crying my eyes out in a shopping center car park because I was feeling so lonely, vulnerable, and not listened to, I decided I needed to do something about it myself. I told my partner that he needed to tell his dad to go home. He refused to kick his dad out, so I sat my father-in-law down and told him that I was sorry, but I was finding this very difficult and I needed him to go home. My father-in-law got very upset. He now claims that he feels too uncomfortable to visit us, which both he and my partner feel is my fault. After my father-in-law left last year, we found out that our baby had died. She was stillborn at 28 weeks. We do not know the reason for her death. The autopsy was inconclusive, but it is possible that my stress played a part. I have pretty serious PTSD from losing my daughter and the ensuing medical complications that occurred, which brings us to now. I am pregnant again, 12 weeks, and my partner has asked me to reach out to his father-in-law and repair the relationship so that he will feel comfortable enough to visit us when the baby is born. I don't want to reach out to my father-in-law. I feel like I was well within my rights to ask that he leave last year, and that if anything he should apologize to me for overstaying his welcome. I have also flatly refused to have him come and stay at any time in the late stages of the pregnancy because I don't want to be stressed any further, given that I will already be very worried about losing this baby too. My partner wants to be able to have his father-in-law in our baby's life, and wants him to be able to visit in the hospital when his grandchild is born. His father-in-law doesn't have the money to pay for accommodation, so my partner thinks that the only option is for him to stay with us. So would I be the asshole if I refuse to reach out and repair the relationship? Firstly, sorry to hear of all the trauma and stress you have been through. It's important to remember there was no definitive cause for the stillborn, so placing blame on stress and isolation may be going too far. Your health should be the main priority, not your partner wanting everyone to be on good terms before the baby is born. Your partner needs to understand that you are part of a family unit now, and you are entitled to feel comfortable in your own home. If his dad staying for 6 weeks is not doable, it's up to your partner to set boundaries and communicate effectively with his father. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.